All right, the purpose of this press conference is to update you all in respect to some recent developments in relation to the disappearance of Jane, Anna and Grant Beaumont in 1966. Over the years there's been many books, magazines and media interest about this case, and it's fair to say it's one of the most famous cases within Australia, and it's probably had more people nominated as a potential offender than any other case that I'm aware of, certainly in this state. One of those people, as you know, is Harry Phipps, who operated the Castor factory at Maringi Avenue at North Plympton. Major Crime first investigated claims about Harry Phipps in 2007, and at that time we were unable to prove that he was involved or that he was involved. Obviously in these cases, whenever we have a person of interest, it's our job to, one, either prove that the person is responsible or equally to prove that they're not responsible. But unfortunately sometimes the matter remains unresolved, and that's the situation with Mr Phipps. Subsequent to that, we had two men come forward who said as boys they'd dug a hole for Mr Phipps at the Castor site at the year of the disappearance of the Beaumonts. Some time ago we attended that site with the brothers. They pointed out one site which was excluded almost immediately, and one site which required further exploration. Ground penetrating radar was used at that site, and there was an excavation. And again, nothing to prove Mr Phipps was involved or to prove that he wasn't. Since 2013, there's been ongoing speculation, there's been information that's come in, and that caused us in 2017 to commence a discrete investigation, which we didn't announce publicly, and it had been our intention to complete that investigation and try and see whether it led us anywhere or whether it didn't. And the reason for that is to try and minimise the negative impact on the family. Mr and Mrs Beaumont are both alive, and every time something comes up, we try to do it in a way that causes the least distress to them possible. In 2017, we became aware a media outlet was also making simultaneous inquiries, and we then from that point worked collaboratively with Channel 7 and Flinders University. Flinders University conducted what's known as ERT testing on the site, which involves placing a number of probes into a defined area, and it uses electricity to analyse what's underneath. That was done from the 4th to the 7th of January, and after that the people from the university went away and analysed the data, which was quite complex and time-consuming. That analysis identified a small anomaly in the middle of the block, consistent with where the brothers said they've dug, but there was no obvious reason for that anomaly. It was felt there could be an innocent explanation, or it could well be the hole that they dug. They're certainly not suggesting it was a grave, but certainly it was sufficient to warrant further investigation, and that's what we've committed to do. So I guess it's important to say here there is a need to temper expectations. We don't know what we will find, and as I say, there's nothing definitive about that, except that that site warrants further investigation because it does appear to have been a hole, which is about 6 square metres and between 2.5 and 3 metres in depth. So there may be an innocent explanation, but in the absence of that, we've committed to searching. It's our intention to do that search within the next couple of weeks, and at the moment we're preparing for the search, speaking to police forensics, people from Forensic Sciences, so anthropologists and Flinders University, and we'll do that search, and we'll be able to tell you in advance of that search when it will be conducted. Like everyone in the community, we obviously are desperate to have this case solved and provide some answers to the family. And we continue to, despite it being 52 years later, we continue to have regular contact with the family, and we'll provide support to them through this difficult time. After today, we won't be making any further comments about the search until we're actually commenced that search. I'm happy to take a few questions.
Would you say this is the most promising lead you've had in the history of this investigation?
No, we've had probably hundreds of people nominated as a person of interest, and we've had some of our most notorious and vile criminals from across the country nominated as suspects. And similarly in those cases, in some of them we haven't been able to prove that they're responsible or to exclude them. There's probably a list of probably 10 or a dozen people who fit into that category, but still not elevated to a suspect category.
Would Harry Phipps now be the prime suspect?
No, Harry's still a person of interest, and we committed last year to reassess everything that had been done in respect to Castleloy and to actually try to revisit everything, look for new things so that we could hopefully prove that Mr Phipps was involved or prove that he wasn't.
I think it's more likely or less likely that you will find something of significance at this site in this next year?
I've seen the data and I've had the briefings from the Flinders University people, and it's clear that the two men did dig a hole. It's never been in doubt that they dug a hole. It was about where the hole was dug. There's never been anything to prove that the Beaumont children are in the hole. However, common sense says that even with the slightest chance that this hole could be relevant, we should search, and that's what we're doing.
Have you spoken to Mr and Mrs Beaumont?
I haven't personally, but we have victim contact officers within our office. They have regular contact with them and have done all those years, and our officers continue to speak to them and have spoken to certainly Mr Beaumont within the last few days.
What's been their reaction to this news?
I haven't spoken to them and got a briefing on that, but I just know that every time something comes up and there's speculation about it, it opens up old wounds, and it's obviously a terribly difficult time for them on each occasion something like this happens.
And Harry Phipps' son ever contacted police saying that he saw the Beaumont children at his father's house?
I won't talk about specific things that in respect to Mr Phipps. We wouldn't do it in our other cases, and I really don't think we should in this case.
The two men who came forward and said that they've dug this hole, why has it taken this long for police to search again a more specific site?
We'd committed last year to actually review everything in respect to Castleloy. All the claims that have been made, the people whose names have been put forward, people that we'd spoken to. So we'd been going through that process. Previously, when we did it, the assessment was that there was no evidence that Mr Phipps was involved. We couldn't prove that he wasn't, and it remained unresolved. But we decided last year to review that. There's been a different person leading that review, if you like. It's not really a review, it's just a review in respect to Mr Phipps and the allegations about Castleloy. So,
who organised and financed this latest search?
Media outlet, Channel 7 for the Flinders University, and we're working with Channel 7 and the university. The excavation will be controlled by SAPOL like any other sighting.
Is it the case that new leadership within SAPOL has led to these claims being taken more seriously and more precisely?
No. The management group at Major Crime, of which I'm part, has been there for quite a few years now. It's not uncommon to what we do with everything we do with Op Persist. You know, we investigate things, some of the cases stall, go cold, we revisit them. You would all know that it's something we do all the time.
And is the delay in searching, is that just a matter of making sure that you don't disturb anything that may be there?
No, there's...
Why not search today, for example?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. We believe the disturbance is up to 2.5 to 3 metres deep, and we basically want to prepare and do it properly and have the right people involved. And we could rush and do things earlier, but if we don't have the right people and there is something there, that wouldn't be good.
Can you just describe where in relation to that original search this new division is? Is it close? Is it within a few metres?
No, it's further along. It's probably about 50 metres along. Basically, the brothers and have been helpful, cooperative and truthful all the way along, and there's never been any doubt that what they said in relation to digging a hole is true. But they were boys, and it was 50 odd years ago. So we've searched in the areas they nominated before, but for a number of reasons, they now believe it's further along. We actually think they're right. that in fact it is further along. There's a number of reasons for that, but we're confident it's definitely in the area that we're searching now.
When did they first tell you that it wasn't the right site that you were initially digging?
I'd have to check with people, but yeah.
Police have known for a while that they said it was you actually searching in the wrong spot?
No, not for long.
Given the involvement of Channel 7 in this, do you expect to be able to conduct a search under normal circumstances? I mean, how much of a media circus will the actual search be? Is it going to be streamed live on the Channel 7 Facebook page, or is it going to be?
I think all our local media are pretty decent people, and I think we'll do exactly what we do at all our other searches.
So
we'll tell you where it is. We'll organise things so you can get vision, and it can be done fair and equally for all.
Do you expect any reward money to be given if something's found?
That's nothing that's been raised by anybody.
Last question.
If nothing is found, will Phipps be ruled out as a suspect?
No, we haven't elevated Mr Phipps to the suspect category. He's always been, like the other people, a person of interest. That is that, you know, we need to prove a little bit more before he's a suspect, but we intend to investigate all the claims in respect to Mr Phipps, and searching this site will just be one part of what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.